I think a lot of us, myself included, have warmed a small bit to the Wells in the last 2 weeks. A tiny bit. And I think it's because we can finally identify with them. We can't identify with them on how they acted before, during and after summer went missing. But we can identify with what it must be like to be at work and have people outside screaming. The embarrassment of that. All your work colleagues seeing it. Everybody can imagine themselves in that situation. I'm also very consciously aware of my own confirmation bias. And because I felt a teeny tiny bit of empathy towards them, I just want to remind myself of a few things. Keep myself in check. So I wanted to make a video about Don and the things that really bother me about Don. I want to talk about 3 things in particular. The first one is something that everybody talks about and where I think most people just made up their mind, stopped thinking for themselves. This one I'm not sold on at all. But the other 2 I have real trouble making excuses for Don. When I was thinking about doing this video yesterday, I actually clicked on a live stream and somebody was talking about the first one again. They were like, that's it, that's where I made up my mind, I knew something was wrong. And it was when I was watching it, I clicked off straight away. I was like, that's it, I definitely have to do that video now tomorrow. Before I talk about them, I want to talk about Sigmund Freud and a Freudarian slip. I did a few electives in university on applied psychology up in UCD. I assume there's many universities that do this now. Basically what it is you do 5 modules from your course every semester and 1 module from something completely outside your course. It allows you to kind of shape your own degree, and I picked the majority of mine in applied psychology. There's some really good classes. You have to be up at midnight to try and get it, because there might be only 6 or 7 spots in the classes and it's first come first served. It lets you do the bits that you're interested in, and I love the applied psychology. It's all the best bits of the psychology without the boring stuff. Before I went into that, I had thought that Sigmund was some genius who basically had invented psychoanalysis. So I was shocked to learn that the majority of everything he said is absolute bull and nonsense. That's not to say that he didn't have a big part in the growth of this and there wasn't 1 or 2 things that he got right. He did. But a lot of the psychoanalysis that grew in the later years came from debunking some of the stuff that he had originally said. So let's talk about the Freudarian slips. Like everything he did, he linked it to sex. He also actually thought that it was healthy for a child to be sexually attracted to the opposite sex parent, which is total rubbish. There is a correlation between partners people go for and their parents. Like how many men go for someone like their mother and how many women have married someone that reminds them of their father. But correlation is not causation. And that line actually, correlation is not causation, that would get you through the whole first year of applied psychology. But back to slips. Freud linked these slips to sex in a way that if you met a girl in the nightclub and you were taking her home, you lived in number 6, there's a chance you might say to the taxi driver, take me to number 6. It's that kind of a slip that Freud was all about. He had a theoretical model of the subconscious, which is basically you're broken down into 3 parts. You have the id, the ego and the superego. The id is your deepest, darkest sexual desires. Pleasure, it's all pleasure. The superego is the best moral part of you that you want out there. And then your ego is the kind of referee that manages in between. And what he was saying, that every now and again something from the id will slip out. And those moments became known as Freudarian slips. But since then we've learned that it's not all about your desires and pleasure. It's more about how your brain processes language. That's not to say that he wasn't onto something. And they learned very quickly that if you're an anxious or nervous person, there's more chance of you having one of those slips that will have nothing got to do with your id. A lot of it can come down to what they call the white bear problem. So do not think about a white bear. Don't, whatever you do, don't picture a beautiful white bear in your head. Picture anything else but a white bear. I know we're all thinking about white bears, because if somebody tells you not to think about something, you're probably going to think about it. Researchers also found that if 2 words share a vowel and would both make sense in the same sentence, there's a good chance you could swap the beginning. An example of this came in a BBC radio programme in the UK when the then Secretary of Culture, Jeremy Hunt, was called his second name but beginning with a C. And the slip here came from the word culture, C-U, and his name Hunt, H-U. So instead of calling him Hunt, he called him Cunt. Can I say that? I'm not sure can I say that. I said it. He didn't mean it, but that's a classic example of where two words share contextual meaning and a vowel. And most of the time your brain will catch these mistakes and not let them out, but sometimes they do slip out. So if you look it up in a dictionary today, a Freudian slip, it will say an unintentional error regarded as revealing subconscious feelings, which is a pretty wide scope, and all these language mistakes kind of fall under regarded. But enough about that, I'll come back to it later. I want to talk about the 3 examples with Don. This is the first one. This is the one I think most people, when they seen this, they were like red flags. It's one of the early interviews that Don is given with Candace. Here's the clip.
I put out there that one of Summer's favorite songs was Godzilla, and they say, and they're jumping all over me about past tense was, well, I'm sorry about that. It's just in that church, or she loves everybody in that church. I should rephrase that because they'll tear that apart as past tense, and I apologize again for that. I hope she gets to...
Here Don is talking about Summer in the past tense, and he's talking about that, and he's talking about how everybody jumped on his back because he started referring to Summer in the past tense. So he's aware of it, he's consciously aware of it, but still does it. So if he was unaware of it and was thinking in his own mind that maybe Summer wandered off and he was referring to is in the present tense and then made a slip, I would think yes, there might be something in it. But Don has always, from the get-go, and he talks about it in that interview as well, the minute he got home he thought she was gone. So his mind went straight to that dark place, straight to that polar bear, and once you go there it's very, very difficult to come back. The second thing is he says that he'll see Summer again in the resurrection. And again, people jump all over this. How do you know she's dead? What's he talking about? This isn't normal. Red flag. However, if you agree that from the very, very start, Don thought something was wrong, he thought Summer was taken. He talked about her being locked in a dungeon. So he is thinking about these dark thoughts, these dark things. His mind has gone there. He's thought about the polar bear and he can't think about anything else. Him saying that he'll see Summer in the resurrection might be merely him just trying to be a bit positive, in the way that if you had a child taken, would you rather they got SA'd once and killed, or would you rather they were being SA'd for every hour of every day and have those thoughts in your head? I know if it was me, I'd be hoping that she has passed and that she's not being currently tortured, because the thought of that would kill you. So these 2 examples from this interview that everyone holds up as the proof that Don knew he slipped up, I don't see anything in them. Obviously, yeah, when you first come across them, it's a bit odd, it's a bit weird, but when you look into it, when you look into how Don was thinking, what his thought process was, the fact that he's even aware of it, the fact that he's aware that he shouldn't be saying these things, I don't see much in it at all. However, the second example from Don is very different. This is a clip from Don's telephone interview with Chris McDonough.
What is your thought process about where do you think she is?
Well, at first I thought, it's got to be some sicko hillbilly druggie, drug her off in the woods or something, or somebody put her in her car and took her not too far away or whatever like that. But
somebody put her in her car. Listen to that again.
Or something, or somebody put her in her car.
Remember, we said this slip could be something got to do with sharing contextual meaning and a vowel. This doesn't share a vowel. His, her, EI, it doesn't share a vowel. So is this a slip?
Or something, or somebody put her in her car.
Or is it the white bear problem? Did Chris catch Don on a day when he was thinking about a female doing it? Was he having doubts about Candace? Was he thinking about Grandis? Was he thinking about someone at the church? Was he thinking about a neighbour? He could have been just thinking about a female on that day, and that could be how it slipped out. It mightn't mean he necessarily knows. Really interested to know if there is anyone from Tennessee who can confirm also whether this would be some sort of slang. It could be a slip-off slang. So he could mean something like der car, T-H-E-R, shares a vowel, shares context, but drops the T. But I'm not sure that actually is slang. This to me is much, much more interesting than the first one. It's very slight. But if he is saying her car, when this interview was done, he was definitely thinking about a female taking Summer. Now, on to the last one. The last one isn't a slip at all. All there is an answer to a question, but it's the one that I have the most problems with. This has been done loads of times in movies and TV shows, and I thought everyone was pretty much aware of it. But maybe it's just us heads stuck in true crime that are aware of these things. But what it is the question of asking someone, what do you think should be done to the person who committed this crime? And if they give a lenient answer or something softball, then they more than likely are involved somehow, whether it's them or whether they know the person. The correct answer here would be, I want them dead, in my opinion. I know if someone took a member of my family, whether it be a son, a daughter, a nephew, a niece, a cousin, I would want them dead. I think that's a natural feeling you would have. You'd want blood. You'd want them to suffer for what they done to you. And Dom was asked this question on the same interview. Hunter was actually asked the same question by Chris, and he answered by saying, I think the person should be in prison for a very, very long time, which is the correct answer. But listen to what Don says.
What do you think should happen?
I have to leave it to God, and I know what prison's like, and I have mercy for anybody who's in prison, because you're lucky if you get out of there alive.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So would you want to see this person in prison?
I don't know if I could do that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No,
It just depends on all the circumstances,
Hey, what if it was an accident?
Well, that's different, and accidents happen,
That absolutely blows my mind. And that's the biggest red flag that Don has, in my opinion. Your daughter's after been taken, your only daughter's after been taken. You think she's locked in a dungeon, you think she's after being SA'd, and they ask you what you think should happen to the person who did this, and you think they shouldn't even go to prison. I'm going to play it once more. Listen to it once more.
What do you think should happen?
I have to leave it to God, and I know what prison's like, and I have mercy for anybody who's in prison, because you're lucky if you get out of there alive.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So would you want to see this person in prison?
I don't know if I could do that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No,
It just depends on all the circumstances,
Hey, what if it was an accident?
Well, that's different, and accidents happen,
I struggle with that one. I really, really do. I think the excuse that was given by some was that he was trying to give the religious answer, but I'm not having that. And when you combine that with the first two, do we get a clear picture of what happened here? And Don knows about it. There was an accident. Candace took Summer, drove her away. Maybe in fear of losing the boys, that's why they did it. But it's one thing putting one example aside and saying, oh, I don't believe in that. But when you're lining them up, when you have multiple ones like this, it makes it very, very hard to believe Don. And he doesn't help himself at all in any interview. You could also say here that he might be making an appeal to the person who has Summer, but we know from his own words that he thinks she's already dead. So I'm not having that either. So the first one I could make an excuse for. I don't think there's much in that. The second one, bit more iffy. I'd love to hear from someone from Tennessee on the slang part of that. And the third one, I can't understand at all. I can't understand why he would say that. That's done. Let me know what you think. Good luck, God bless. Have a good day.